The alley of cold shadows, cold wind moved through the dark streets like a living thing. The rain was not heavy, but each drop felt like ice. Between two tall, broken buildings, a small alley hid in the shadows. Two alien sisters crouched there, trying to make themselves invisible. The older one, Lyra, wrapped her thin arms around her younger sister, Senna. Their skin had turned pale from hunger. Their clothes were nothing more than torn rags. Senna's eyes were half closed. She was shivering so much her teeth made a soft, chattering sound. "Stay awake," Lyra whispered. Her own voice shook from the cold dot. Senna only nodded, but her head fell against Lyra's chest. Lyra looked up at the sky, her stomach aching. She had not eaten in 2 days. She wanted to cry, but she couldn't. Crying would take energy, and she had no energy left. From far away, footsteps echoed, slow, heavy. Not the fast, sharp steps of the city's cruel gangs. Not the clicking claws of the street beasts. These were different. Lyra tensed. She had learned long ago anything unknown could be danger. She pressed Senna closer, trying to hide behind a stack of rusted metal crates. The footsteps grew louder. Then silence. Her breath caught. She could hear her own heart beating fast. A shadow moved at the alley's entrance. It was tall, too tall to be an alien of their kind. The figure stepped forward, and the light from a broken street lamp touched his face. A human. She had seen humans before, but always from far away. They didn't belong in this part of the city, too dangerous, too poor. He wore a dark coat, wet from the rain. His eyes searched the alley until they landed on the sisters. Lyra pushed Senna behind her. "Go away," she hissed. The man didn't move closer right away. He crouched down, so his eyes were level with hers. "You're freezing," he said, in a low voice. His words were calm, but his eyes looked worried. She didn't answer. Slowly, he took off his coat. It was thick, warm-looking, and heavy. He stepped forward just enough to place it in front of them, then stepped back again. "Put it on her," he said, nodding towards Senna. Lyra's arms tightened around her sister. "Why? What do you want?" The man shook his head. "Nothing from you. Just don't let her die out here." She hesitated. The city taught her that kindness was often a trap. But Senna's lips were turning blue. She grabbed the coat and wrapped it around her sister. Warmth spread into the girl's small body almost immediately. The man watched in silence. Then he said something strange. "Both of you, come home." Lyra stared at him. "Home?" She almost laughed. "We don't have one." "I know," he said. "That's why you'll come with me." Her mind filled with warnings. Don't trust strangers. Don't leave safe hiding spots. Don't accept help without knowing the cost. And yet, behind the man, the street seemed even darker. Far away, she thought she saw movement, something big, low to the ground, crawling through the shadows. Two glowing points, like blue eyes, appeared and then vanished. She felt her skin prickle. The man followed her gaze for a moment, then looked back at her. His voice was quiet, but firm. "If you stay here, whatever's out there will find you. If you come with me, maybe you live." The word live pressed deep into Lyra's mind. She didn't trust him, but she trusted the streets less. Senna whispered weakly, "Lyra, I'm cold." That decided it. Lyra helped her sister stand, keeping the coat around her. The man stepped forward, holding out his hand. She didn't take it, but she followed him out of the alley. The wind bit at her face. She glanced behind them once. Something moved at the far end of the alley, a shadow too large to be a person. It stopped, watching. Then the glowing blue eyes returned. The man didn't look back. He simply walked, fast but steady, leading them through empty streets. His shoulders were tense, and his eyes kept scanning the corners. Where are we going? Lyra asked. Somewhere safe, he said. How do I know you're telling the truth? You don't, he replied. But you'll find out soon enough. They turned down another street, past buildings with broken windows and strange symbols painted on the walls. Lyra held Sina close, listening to her slow breathing. When they reached a tall metal door, the man tapped a code into a small panel. The door slid open with a heavy sound. Warm air drifted out. Inside was dim light, a smell of cooked food, and the faint sound of a heater. The man stepped aside. Go in. Lyra looked at him, then at Sina. She led her sister inside, every step. Slow, ready to run if she needed to. The door closed behind them with a deep metallic click. Somewhere in the distance, in the cold and rain, a low growl echoed through the night. The man locked the door and glanced at them. His face was calm, but his eyes seemed tired. Rest, he said. We'll talk in the morning. Lyra didn't answer. She just held her sister tighter, wondering what she had just walked into. And in the back of her mind, she remembered. Those blue eyes in the dark. The house with locked doors, the door shut with a heavy thud, and Lyra jumped at the sound. She was used to weak doors and broken buildings, doors anyone could kick open. But this one was different. It looked like solid steel. 3 thick locks slid into place with a loud clank. The human stepped past them without speaking. His boots made a deep sound against the wooden floor. The lights inside were soft and yellow, not bright like the harsh city lamps. Senna breathed. In, it's warm. She whispered. Lyra kept her arms around her sister, her eyes moving across the room. There was a couch, a table, shelves filled with books. But there was something strange. Every window had thick metal shutters, bolted shut from the inside. Even the air vents had steel covers. It didn't feel like a home. It felt like a cage. Sit, the man said, pointing at the couch. Lyra hesitated. Who are you? My name is Rian, he answered simply. And you? She didn't answer. In the streets, names were dangerous. He didn't push her. Instead, he walked into a small kitchen and returned with 2 steaming bowls. Eat, he said. Senna reached for hers quickly, her small hands shaking. Lyra took the other bowl, but didn't eat yet. She watched him carefully. The smell of the soup filled her head. Real vegetables, real meat. She hadn't smelled food like that in years. Slowly, she took a sip. Warmth spread through her chest. Rian sat across from them, watching quietly. You are being followed, he said. Lyra froze. By who? His eyes narrowed. Not who. What? Before she could ask more, a sudden thud came from upstairs. Not. The sound of something falling, more like something hitting the wall. Sina jumped, spilling soup on her coat. Rian stood quickly and grabbed something from the wall, a long black weapon, smooth and sharp-edged. Stay here. Don't open the door. Don't move. He was already heading up the stairs before Lyra could speak. The sound of his boots faded, replaced by faint, heavy footsteps above them. Then silence. Lyra's pulse was fast. She put her bowl down and stood, moving toward the stairs. Senna grabbed her sleeve. No. I just want to see, Lyra whispered. She climbed 3 steps, staying low. The wood creaked under her weight. She could hear Rian's voice, soft, like he was talking to someone. But there was no reply then. Another sound, a low growl. She froze. It wasn't human. It wasn't like the gangs or the street dogs. It was deeper, wetter, like something alive but not natural. There was a loud crash, and Rian shouted something. She couldn't understand. The growl became a screech. Then silence again. Her heart pounded. She hurried back down before he returned. When Rian came back, his coat had blood on it, not much, just a few dark streaks. His weapon was wet, but he didn't seem hurt. Senna stared at the red stains. Was that a beast? Rion's eyes flicked toward the locked windows. "You're safe now," he said. He didn't explain further. That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. She lay on the couch with Senna beside her, staring at the dark ceiling. The house was quiet, but every once in a while, she thought she heard something. Seat scratching sound from outside. She sat up. The windows didn't let her see out, but she could feel it. Something was there, watching. Her eyes went to the steel locks. Why did one man need this much protection? By morning, Rion was already in the kitchen, boiling water. He placed 2 mugs. In front of them, the smell was strange, but comforting. "Tea," he said. "Good for warmth." Lyra took hers without speaking. Her mind was still on the sounds from last night. "You built this place to keep something out," she said finally. "Or to keep something in." Rion looked at her for a moment, then smiled faintly. Both, her grip tightened on the mug. "You saved us? But why? You don't even know us." He shrugged. "You were in trouble. That was enough." It wasn't enough for her. No one helped for free in the city. Before she could press him, a sharp ping echoed from a device on the wall. Rion stood and checked it. His face went hard. "They've found the house," he said. "Who?" Lyra demanded. He glanced toward the door. "Stay inside. Whatever happens, do not open it." She stood too. "You can't just..." But he was, already unlocking a side door and stepping out, weapon in hand. Sina's eyes were wide. "Lyra, I don't like this place anymore." Lyra didn't either. But leaving might mean meeting whatever had been growling in the night. The sound of distant roars drifted through the air, and for the first time since entering the house, Lyra wondered if Rion's locks were the only thing keeping them alive. The monster outside the sound came first low, deep, and too steady to be the wind. It was a slow rhythm, like something breathing just outside the walls. Lyra stood near the window, staring at the metal shutters. She couldn't see through them. But she felt eyes on her dot. Senna clung to her side. "It's here again," she whispered. Rion had not returned. The side door was still closed, the locks in place. The only other sound was the faint hum of the heater. A sudden thump shook the wall. The metal shutters rattled. Lyra grabbed Sina's hand. "Move back," she said, guiding her toward the couch. Another thump. This time, a long, scraping sound. Followed, like claws dragging across steel, Sina covered her ears. Lyra's heart pounded. She wanted to run, but where? The only exit was locked, and the thing outside sounded big enough to tear through a wall. Then dash silence. Her chest rose and fell too fast. A moment later, the silence broke with something worse than the noise: soft, slow footsteps circling the house. They were heavy, deliberate, like the creature was in no hurry. It knew they weren't going anywhere. Outside, in the cold rain, Rion crouched low, his weapon held tight. He had seen the shadow massive, hunched, with long, jointed limbs. The blue glow of its eyes cut through the dark. He kept his breathing slow, trying to stay downwind. The beast's head turned sharply, sniffing the air. It made a sound, a short, sharp hiss. Then it smiled. Rion had seen that smile before. Wide, too many teeth. Teeth meant for tearing, not chewing. He didn't shoot. Not yet. A wounded beast. Would be more dangerous, and if it fled, it would come back later. He had to finish it in one shot. Inside, Lyra couldn't sit still. She crept toward the kitchen door, pressing her ear against it. She heard faint movement outside, then the unmistakable sound of Rion's voice. She couldn't make out the words. It sounded like he was talking to someone, or something. Sina whispered from behind her, "Don't open it." "I'm not," Lyra said. But she didn't step away. A sudden roar made her jump. It shook the air inside the house, vibrating through the walls. Senna screamed and ran to the couch. Pulling the coat over her head, Lyra stayed frozen for half. A second then, something slammed into the side of the house so hard the floor shuddered. Outside, Rian had fired. The shot lit the alley with a flash of white light. The beast shrieked, stumbling backward, one arm hanging limp. Its other arm clawed the ground, tearing deep lines into the wet dirt. It moved fast, too fast for something that big. Rian barely rolled aside as it lunged. Its teeth snapped shut where his head had been a moment before. The rain turned red in small splashes. He fired again, hitting its shoulder. The beast spun and slammed him into the wall. His vision blurred and pain shot down his back. But he kept. His weapon up the beast's eyes glowed brighter, and for a moment, Rian swore it was smiling again. Inside, Lyra grabbed a knife from the kitchen drawer. She didn't know if she could fight something that strong. But she couldn't just stand there. Another crash shook the door. She heard Rian grunt in pain. She turned to Senna. "If it gets in, you run. Don't stop, don't look back." Senna's voice cracked. "Where will I go?" Lyra didn't answer, because she didn't know. Rian managed to get one arm free. He shoved the weapon into the beast's side and fired point blank. The thing howled, staggering back into the shadows. It moved fast, vanishing into the dark alley like it had never been there. But the blue glow of its eyes lingered for a moment before fading completely. Rian stayed still, scanning the darkness. His shoulder burned, but the beast was gone. For now, when he came back inside, Lyra saw the blood on his face and coat. "You fought it," she said quietly. He locked the door behind him and nodded. "It's not dead." Senna peeked out from under the coat. "What is it?" Rian glanced toward the shuttered window. "Something that's been hunting me for years. And now it's hunting you too." Lyra tightened her grip on the knife. "Us?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because you're not just runaways. You're worth chasing." Her heart sank. She didn't like the way he said it. Senna shivered. "Will it come back?" Rian looked at the locks, then at them. Yes, and in that moment, Lyra realized something chilling. The monster outside wasn't afraid of these walls. It was just waiting for the right time to break in. Secrets in the basement, the house was silent again. But it wasn't the calm kind of silence. It was the kind that felt heavy. Like the air itself was waiting for something to happen. Lyra lay on the couch with Senna beside her. The heater's hum was the only sound. But her mind kept replaying the sight of Rian's blood and the roar of that beast. She knew one thing for sure. Now their new home wasn't safe. Sina's breathing was steady. She had finally fallen asleep, but Lyra couldn't rest. Her eyes kept drifting toward the far end of the room, toward the narrow door near the kitchen. She had noticed it before. Unlike the front and side doors, this one had no handle, only a small black panel with blinking lights. Rian never went near it when they were looking. Lyra stood quietly, pulling the coat tighter around her shoulders. She walked to the door and pressed her ear against it. At first, nothing. Then a faint sound. A low, constant hum, like machinery deep underground. She stepped back. Her fingers hovered over the panel. She didn't know what it did, but curiosity burned inside her. She tapped it. The panel lit up with strange symbols. She had no idea how to read them, but her touch seemed to trigger something. The lights flashed, and with a deep metallic click, the door began to open. Cold air spilled out, carrying the smell of metal and something else, something sharp, like burnt stone. A set of stairs led down into darkness. She glanced back at Sinise, sleeping. Then she slipped inside, letting the door close behind her. The stairs creaked under her weight. The hum grew louder with each step. The walls here weren't wood or brick. They were smooth steel, with wires running along the edges. At the bottom, a dim blue light glowed. Lyra stepped into a wide room and froze. The walls were lined with alien machine-style glass tubes, filled with swirling silver liquid, blinking consoles, and panels that looked older than anything she had seen in the city. In the center of the room stood a large metal table. On it lay something covered by a heavy black cloth. The hum was coming from it. She took a step closer and pulled the cloth back. Her breath caught. It was a weapon, but not like any she had seen, long, curved, with veins of blue light running through its surface. It looked almost alive. She reached out, but before her fingers could touch it, "Don't." She spun around. Rian was at the bottom of the stairs, his eyes hard. "You shouldn't be here," he said. Lyra's voice was sharp. "What is this place? What is that thing?" He stepped forward, covering the weapon again. "Something that can kill." "The beasts? Then why not use it?" she demanded. His jaw tightened. "Because it only works for the right person. And that person is not me." Lyra stared at him. "Then who?" His gaze didn't leave hers. "You." Her stomach turned. "Me? I don't even know what this is." "You don't need to know how it works," he said quietly. "You just need to hold it." She shook her head. "This doesn't make sense." "It will," he said. "Your parents?" He stopped. Her breath caught. "What do you know about our parents?" Rian sighed, running a hand through his hair. "They weren't just scientists. They built this. The beasts want it destroyed. But first, they need you 'cause you can power it." Lyra stepped back. "You're lying?" "Am I?" he said. "Think about it. Why do the beasts follow you? Why don't they attack anyone else in the streets? Why do they only hunt you?" Her mind flashed back to the blue eyes in the alley, the way the monsters circled the house. Instead of breaking in, the strange way Rian always looked at her. "You're saying?" she began. "They're not here for you. They're here for us." Rian's silence was the answer. From above, a sudden loud bang shook the ceiling. The sound of metal bending under force echoed down the stairs. Rian grabbed the weapon and thrust it into her hands. "It's too soon, but we don't have a choice. When I tell you, point it at them." Her hands trembled. The weapon felt warm, like it was alive. The blue veins of light pulsed faster in her grip. Sina's scream echoed. From upstairs, Lyra's chest tightened. She tried to run up the stairs, but Rian blocked her. "Not yet," he said firmly. "If you go now, you die. Wait for my signal." Another crash, this one closer. The heavy locks groaned. The hum of the weapon grew louder, vibrating in her hands. She didn't understand how, but it felt like it was waiting for her to decide. Rian's eyes met hers. "Lyra, when the door breaks, aim for the eyes." Her pulse hammered in her ears. The next crash was deafening, and this time, the locks didn't hold. The chase through the burning streets, the final lock broke with a scream of twisting metal. The door flew inward, and the beast filled the doorway taller. Then Rian, wider than the frame, its claws scraping sparks from the steel. Its glowing blue eyes locked on Lyra. Rian shouted, "Now!" Lyra raised the weapon. It pulsed in her hands, light shooting down its length. The sound it made was strange half-hum, half-heartbeat. She aimed at the beast's eyes. A burst of blue energy exploded from the weapon, slamming into the creature's face. It shrieked, stumbling back, one eye smoking. "Run!" Rian yelled. Senna bolted from behind the couch. Lyra grabbed her, and they rushed for the side door. Rian fired his smaller weapon over their heads, forcing the beast back long enough. To reach the street, the night air was cold, sharp in their lungs. But there was no time to breathe. The roar came again, angrier now. They ran down the narrow street, their feet splashing through puddles. The city was alive with chaos fires burning in distant alleys. Shadows moving in places they shouldn't. Lyra looked over her shoulder. The beast was coming, its body low to the ground, claws tearing into stone as it ran. Faster, Rian shouted. They cut into another street. This one was worse half. The buildings were already burning. The orange glow painted the walls, and thick black smoke curled into the night sky. Where are we going? Lyra gasped. Somewhere they can't follow, Rian said. Is that even real? T didn't answer. A second roar split the air, this one from ahead. Another beast dropped from a rooftop, landing in the street. Blocking their path, Senna screamed. Lyra froze for half a second, weapon shaking in her grip. Rian grabbed her arm. Left, he turned down an alley so narrow the walls scraped their shoulders. Trash cans and crates were scattered everywhere. Something huge crashed into the far end behind them, blocking the path they had just taken. Now there were two beasts. They ran through the maze of alleys, turning again and again. But the roars stayed close, echoing off the walls. Senna tripped. Falling to her knees, Lyra pulled her up, heart pounding. Keep moving. The ground shook as a beast landed nearby. Rian fired a shot, hitting it in the leg. It stumbled, but didn't fall. They're hurting us, he said under his breath. Hurting us where? Lyra asked. He didn't answer. They burst into an open square and stopped. The fires here were worse. 3 buildings were fully burning, their windows glowing like angry eyes. In the center, a market stall had collapsed, sending wood and cloth across the ground. The first beast appeared at one end of the square. The second, at the other, trapped. Tat, Rian, looked at Lyra. Your turn. Her hands shook. The weapon felt heavier now, almost as if it knew what was coming. She aimed at the first beast, forcing herself to focus on the glowing eyes. The weapon hummed louder. Blue energy blasted forward, striking its chest. The creature screamed, smoke pouring from the wound. The second beast lunged. Rian shoved Lyra aside, firing his own weapon into its face. Go, he yelled. The west gate. They ran again, dodging falling debris as a nearby building's roof gave way. Flames lit the smoke above them, turning the night into a mix of orange and black. The west gate was an old cargo exit from the city. Lyra had heard about it, but never seen it. It was close, but the beasts were closer. One leaped from a rooftop, landing between them and the gate. Its roar shook the ground. Lyra raised the weapon, but before she could fire, the beast lunged not at her, but at Senna. Senna screamed as its claws wrapped around her waist, lifting her off the ground. Nitrogen monoxide. Lyra screamed. Rian didn't hesitate. He charged forward, slamming into the beast's side. The impact made it loosen its grip just enough for Senna to slip free. But the beast's claws caught Rian instead, pulling him toward its open jaws. Without thinking, Lyra aimed and fired. The blast hit the beast's throat. It collapsed, releasing. Rian, who stumbled to his knees. Move, he shouted again. Coughing, they reached the west gate, a massive steel door. Half broken, but still blocking the way. Rian slammed a panel on the wall. Keep me covered. Lyra fired at the shadows moving in the smoke. Every time she hit, the beasts screamed and backed away, but she could feel them circling. The gate groaned as it lifted. Cold night wind rushed in from the other side. Open land, dark and empty. Go. Rian pushed Senna through first, then Lyra. The moment they were out, the gates slammed shut behind them. The city was gone, hidden by walls of steel and smoke. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then Rian said, "They'll be back. And next time, they won't let us run." Lyra tightened her grip on the weapon, her heart still racing. She had a feeling he was right. The truth about the sisters, the land beyond the city, was quiet. But it wasn't peace. It was the kind of quiet that hides danger. The ground was dry and cracked. Old stone ruins rose in the distance like broken teeth. Rion led the way, his weapon ready. Lyra kept Senna close, scanning the shadows. She knew the beasts wouldn't stay behind those walls forever. They walked for an hour before stopping inside a half-collapsed stone hall. The roof was gone, and the night sky stared down at them like a giant, cold eye. Rion built a small fire. In the corner, the flames flickering against the walls. Senna sat close to it, hugging her knees. "Why do they want us?" she asked quietly. Rion looked at her for a long moment before answering. "Because of what you are." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "We're just people." "No," he said. "You're not just people." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, flat device. When he pressed it, a blue light rose from it, forming a hologram in the air. The image showed to aliens older, with faces tired but kind. A man and a woman. They looked enough like Lyra and Senna that there was no doubt. "Our parents," Lyra breathed. Rion nodded. "Your mother and father were scientists in the war. The smartest in their field. They worked on something called the Veil Pulse." He glanced at Lyra's weapon. "The same energy inside that." Senna frowned. "What does it do?" Eyes darkened. "It ends things. Entire armies. Entire worlds." The fire popped. Lyra felt the heat on her face, but her hands were cold. "You're saying our parents made a weapon like that?" "Yes," Rion said. "But they didn't trust anyone with it, not the armies, not the governments. They made sure it could only be used by someone with their exact DNA. And that's us," Lyra said slowly. Rion nodded again. "The beasts aren't just animals. They were made, too. Grown for war. Their masters sent them to find you, not to kill you, to take you alive. Once they have you, they can make more weapons. More powerful ones." Senna hugged herself tighter. "So, if we weren't here, they'd stop chasing us." "Yes," Rion said. "But they'd find you sooner or later. There's no hiding forever." Lyra stared at the weapon lying beside her. The blue light inside it pulsed faintly, as if it could hear the conversation. "You've known this whole time," she said. Rion didn't deny it. "I've been looking for you for years. I promised your parents I'd find you, if they didn't make it." Senna's eyes went wide. "They're gone?" Rion's jaw tightened. "They died protecting the pulse from being taken. The last thing they did was send it here and make me swear to guard it until you were ready." Lyra's throat felt tight. "Ready for what?" He met her eyes. "To use it. To finish what they started." Outside, the wind shifted. Lyra thought she heard something moving in the dark. "You're saying we have to fight them?" she asked. "I'm saying you don't have a choice," Rion replied. "If they catch you, they win. And when they win, more cities burn. More people die." Senna shook her head. "We can't. We're not soldiers." Rion's voice was firm. "You don't have to be soldiers. You just have to survive long enough to pull the trigger." A howl cut through the night, low at first, then rising into a bone-deep scream. Senna jumped. Kalaria's hand went to the weapon. Rion stood, scanning the darkness. "They've found us." "Again? That fast?" Lyra whispered. "They can track the pulse," he said. "They can smell it." Senna's voice trembled. "What do we do?" Rion looked at Lyra. "We run, but not away. We run toward them." Her eyes widened. "What?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "They'll never stop chasing. The only way to end this is to kill the one controlling them. And he's close." The sound of claws on stone echoed in the ruins. Shadows moved at the edge of the FIRELIGHT. Sina grabbed Lyra's arm. We'll die. Not if you use the pulse, Rian said. Your parents made it to be unstoppable in the right hands. Those hands are yours. The shadows grew larger. Blue eyes appeared in the dark dozens this time. Rian took a step forward, weapon raised. Stay behind me when I give the signal. You fire at everything. Lyra's pulse hammered. She thought about the alley, the locked house, the chase through the burning streets. She thought about the monsters tearing through the city. To reach them, her fear turned into something sharper. She tightened her grip on the pulse. Fine, but you better give that signal fast. The first beast stepped into the light. Then the second. Then more, until the ruins felt surrounded. Senna pressed against Lyra's side, her small hands cold. Rian's eyes never left the monsters. Ready? Lyra took a deep breath. Ready. The beasts lowered themselves to the ground, muscles tensing. And in the glow of the fire, Lyra realized the truth. She wasn't running anymore. Both of you, come home. The ruins shook under the weight of the beasts. Blue eyes surrounded the fire, glowing like cold stars in the dark. Rian stood in front, weapon raised. Lyra held the pulse in both hands. The strange energy inside it, pulsing faster, matching her heartbeat. Senna stayed behind her. Clutching her coat, the leader appeared last. It stepped into the fire, light taller than any beast. Its skin dark and ridged like armor. Its eyes weren't just blue, they burned with intelligence. It carried no weapon, it didn't need one. Its voice was deep, almost human. Give me the sisters, it said. Rian didn't move. Not happening. The leader tilted its head, almost smiling. You protect them, but they belong to us. They were made for us. Lyra's voice was steady. We belong to no one. The leader's gaze shifted to her. Then you will die with him. It raised. One clawed hand, and the beasts moved. Now, Rian shouted. The pulse roared to life in Lyra's hands. Blue light shot out, striking the first beast in the chest. It fell back, shrieking. Its body burning from the inside. Senna covered her ears as the ruins filled with screams and the crack of Rian's weapon. Two beasts leaped from the sides. Lyra turned, firing twice. The blasts tore through them, leaving nothing but smoking ash. The pulse was warm now, almost hot, but it didn't hurt her. It felt like it wanted her to keep going. Rian moved forward, taking down beasts one after another, but they kept coming. The leader didn't move. It was watching her, studying her. One beast broke through and lunged at Senna. Lyra spun, firing. A shot so close, the blue light lit her sister's face. The beast dropped at her feet. Stay with me. Lyra yelled. Senna nodded. Tears in her eyes, but no fear in her voice anymore. The leader finally stepped forward. Impressive, it said. You are what they promised. But your power will be ours. It moved fast, too fast. One moment it was across the ruins. The next, it was in front of her. Knocking the pulse from her hands, Lyra hit the ground hard. Her breath knocked out. The leader reached for her throat. A blast from Rian's weapon slammed into its side, forcing it back. Get up, he shouted. Lyra rolled, grabbing the pulse from the ground. The leader roared, swinging a claw at her. She ducked, the wind of the strike brushing her hair. She aimed at its eyes, but the leader knocked her arm aside. The shot hit the wall, blasting a hole through the stone. The leader's claws came down again. Then Senna was there. Small, fast, fearless. She grabbed a loose chunk of metal from the ground and slammed it into the leader's knee. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make the beast stumble. Lyra didn't waste the chance. She aimed, focusing on the center of its glowing eyes. The pulse fired. Brighter than before, so bright the whole ruin turned blue. The leader screamed, its voice shattering into an animal howl. Light poured from the wound, spreading through its body until it burst apart in a rain of ash and smoke. The remaining beasts froze. Their eyes flickered, then dimmed. One by one, they collapsed to the ground, lifeless. The ruins were silent again. Lyra lowered the pulse, her arms shaking. Senna wrapped her arms around her waist, holding tight. Rian limped forward, blood on his arm. "It's over," he said, voice rough. Lyra looked at the ash blowing in the wind. "Is it?" He nodded. "Without their leader, the rest are nothing. You did it." The fire had burned down to glowing embers. The three of them sat close together, not speaking for a long time. Finally, Senna broke the silence. "What now?" Rian looked at them both. "Now, you come home." Lyra almost laughed. "We don't have a home." He shook his head. "Yes, you do. I promised your parents I'd keep you safe. That promise doesn't end here." Senna leaned against him, and for the first time since Lyra had met him, Rian smiled, not the small, guarded smile she'd seen before, but a real one. The journey back was quiet. The city walls were still far in the distance, but the beasts were gone. For the first time in days, the air didn't smell like fear. When they reached the outskirts, the streets were empty. The fires had burned out. The rain had washed the blood. Away, they stopped in front of Rian's house. The steel doors were still bent from the attack, but inside was warm again. Senna ran to the couch and curled up under the coat. Lyra stood in the doorway, looking at the place with new eyes. It didn't feel like a cage anymore. It felt safe. Rian stepped beside her. "Both of you," he said softly, "come home." This time, she didn't hesitate. She closed the door behind her, and for the first time in her life, Lyra believed she might actually stay.